Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing off my three teams that I'll be considering and using. The first two teams are ones I'm more likely to use. Third one is kind of like an off-meta kind of fun team. The second team is really emphasizes like using non-legacy, using not regional Pokemon. So if we go with the first team, I'm using Celio, Lantern, Skarmory, Quagsire, Double Legacy, Lapras with Ice Shard, Ice Beam, and then Tropius. And then my second team is comprised of Altaria, Skarmory, Abomasnow, Quagsire, Celio, and then Lantern. And then the third team comprises of Abomasnow with Powder Snow, kind of throw off your opponent, especially if they think they're going to run Tropius and run all over you. Glalie with Double Ice and Shadow Ball movesets, Steelix, Skarmory, Charizard, and then Lantern. So the next portion of the video I'm going to be covering is going to be covering actually the Team 1 portion. So here, my first team is Celio with Powder Snow, Body Slam, Aurora Beam, so actual movesets here. Lantern with Water Gun, Thunderbolt, Hydro Pump. I might consider Charge Beam, but I don't have another water Pokemon here. Or water move, Air Slash, Flash Cannon, Sky Attack for my Skarmory, and then Razor Leaf, Leaf Blade, Aerial Ace for Tropius, and then Mud Shot, Earthquake, and Stone Edge, Earthquake for coverage. And then my Lapras has Double Ice and Surf, so that's the reason why I have Water Gun on my Lantern. This portion is where people had submitted to me their teams, and I'm going to compare my teams to their teams. I'm going to be mostly focusing on Team 1, but if there's, and I'm going to look over three different teams that people had sent me. But if there is enough interest, say this video gets 150 likes, then I will do more teams, more comparisons, so you guys can keep tweeting at me if you want, if this video gets enough likes. And then I will also compare those teams against my other teams as well. So this first team is submitted by Gamefreak. I actually really like it. It's contains Quagsire, Lapras, Tropius, Altaria, Lantern, and then Charizard. So I wrote down a couple of notes that I would verbally or like mentally go over in my head. I obviously wouldn't verbally say it because I might want to know what I'd be thinking. I guess that's what I'm doing here anyways. So I see that Lapras has really good matchups against three Pokemon. Those three Pokemon being Tropius, Altaria, and Charizard. And then Celio has like pretty poor matchups against Quagsire, against Tropius, even though it has ice moves. It's just that Body Slam doesn't do enough damage, and then Tropius will beat it to Leaf Blade as opposed to us being it to Aurora Beam. And then it does well against Altaria, but does poorly against Lantern, and does poorly against Charizard because Charizard is neutral and has stronger moves than Celio has. So then that's something for me to consider. I see two Pokemon are double weak to ice. That's another interesting fact for me to know. But knowing that Celio doesn't do enough damage unless it has the tempo advantage, which is totally possible. And then I see here Tropius has three good matchups against Quagsire, against Lantern, against Lapras, and then two poor matchups against Tropius, against Charizard and Altaria, while Quagsire has three good matchups against Lapras, against Lantern, and against Charizard, and then two really poor matchups. One in particular, which is Tropius, but also has very poor matchups against Altaria. Some notes that I'm going to make after the first match, if they're applicable, I'm able to figure them out. I need to figure out what moves this Lapras has. Does it have Ice Beam? Does it have Water Gun? Or does it have Ice Shard? Does it have Frost Breath? And then I want to figure out what moves Lantern has. Does it have Water Gun or Charge Beam? And these are things I need to know because they're going to change and adjust my strategy and how well I think I'm going to go up against that first team. This second team is really interesting. And it's by Ultra_JS. It contains Abomasnow, Marshtomp, Moltres, Alone Raichu. It contains Piloswine, it contains its Quagsire. So here, my mental notes would say, like, okay, I have favorable matchups against Marshtomp, I have favorable matchups against Moltres, and I have favorable matchups against Piloswine. I do have like poor matchups against Abomasnow, Alolan Raichu, and Quagsire, so that's something for me to consideration. I see that Tropius has 5 favorable matchups, if you include Shields, and that's against Abomasnow, unless Abomasnow has Powder Snow, which is totally possible. Really good matchup against Marshtomp, good matchup against Alolan Raichu, a good matchup against Piloswine as long as you shield the first Avalanche, and then it doesn't necessarily even matter if they shield or not, because Razor Leaf's going to faint it, and then a good matchup against Quagsire here. And then Quagsire has 4 favorable matchups, so you'll see against Moltres, against Alolan Raichu, against Piloswine, and then as well against Marshtomp. And then as well has 1 even matchup with Quagsire, depending on what movesets they have. If they're not running Earthquake, then obviously my Quagsire has the advantage. And then it has a really poor matchup against assuming Razor Leaf, Abomasnow. And then some things I need to take into consideration is, does it have Wild Charge or Thunder Punch? And that will really change the consideration on how well I think my team will do against it, or has both potentially. But I'm assuming it runs Psychic for neutral damage where it's stuck. So interesting second team. This third team is by Jeremy, and a really interesting team composition here. Skarmory, Lapras, Altaria, Tropius, Lantern, and Quagsire. So obviously one thing that I really note is the Skarmory Altaria duo, which I will find that will be pretty common. Lantern does lose to 3 Pokemon, but does beat 2 of them convincingly. It beats both, in this case, the first 2, which is Skarmory and Lapras, quite convincingly, but loses to Altaria, loses to Tropius, and loses to Quagsire. And then Celio beats 2 of them, which are Lapras and Altaria, and then 1v1s with Skarmory, and then obviously loses pretty badly to the bottom 3, which is Tropius, Lantern, and then Quagsire, because of their movesets. And then Skarmory only beats 1, which is Tropius. It loses to another, which is Lantern, but has very even matchups against the remaining 4. So that's something for me to consider to factor in. And then notes after the first match that I want to take is like, what moves does this Lapras have? Does it have Ice Shard? Does it have Water Gun? Does it have Ice Beam? Does it have Dragon Pulse? Does it have Surf? Does it have Blizzard? Etc. etc. What fast move does the Lantern have? Does it have Charge Beam or Water Gun? And that really changes the complexity and nature of Lantern. And then what fast move does Skarmory have? Does it have Steel Wing? Does it have Air Slash? If it has Steel Wing, I have the tempo advantage when I go Skarmory versus Skarmory. It's also a different matchup when I'm using Quagsire, because now Quagsire then has the advantage over Skarmory. So other things for me to take into consideration when I'm looking at this matchup. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If I get enough likes, I will do a part 2 and partially part 3 version of this video where I analyze people's teams and against my teams and factors and thoughts that I have. Thank you, and I'll see everyone in the next video.